What is a Disney Vacation Club use year? Hi, welcome to my channel, Disney Hobby Guys. Like, subscribe, turn on bell notifications. It really helps me grow my channel. Okay, today's topic is going to be about the idea of a use year. Now, you might be thinking, well, what is a use year? I've never heard that before. Well, if you're a Disney Vacation Club member, there's this idea that they have that they coined as a use year. And that's basically what month in the year do you get your points. And when you get those points, they are good for 1 year minus 1 day from the day that you got your points replenished into the system. So, for instance, I have a September use year. That means from September 1st of 2022 till August 31st of 2023, that is the 2022 use year for September. Those are the dates that those points are eligible to be booked and used, would be within that time frame. So moving on, let's do one more as an example. Let's look at 2023. For 2023, on a September use year, you get your points September 1st, 2023. They are good until August 31st of 2024. So you see what happens there, right? You get it September 1st of every year, but you have 1 day prior to complete travel on those points. So for instance, if you are traveling and your date of travel ends on September 1st, right? Like you're not checking out on September 1st, you're physically staying a night on September 1st. Well, you didn't use the previous year's use years. You're actually using the following year's use years because your 2022 points would have expired August 31st. So if you want to book September 1st, you need to use 2023's points for that, right? So just to put that into perspective, that's kind of how the booking works. Now, there's this whole idea of a banking window too. And the banking windows is typically about 8 months from the date that you receive your points. So on a September use year, you receive your points September 1st of every year. You have until April 30 of the following year to book your points. Now that's 8 months because it counts September as 1 month. But if you count September 1, right, October 2, November 3, December 4, January 5, February 6, March 7, April 8, right? At the end of that 8th month, then that's when you would have to book your points. So why does this all matter? So functionally now you kind of understand the banking windows and when you get your points, when are they valid and everything like that. Why does that matter? Well, it matters because it comes down to, are you a consistent traveler? If you're a consistent traveler, let's say every single year you travel, I don't know, during spring break, and spring break for you is maybe somewhere in April of every single year, then it matters because if you picked up a certain use year, like say February, your use year is February, well, if you had to cancel that April trip, that's actually really good because you would have an entire year to make up another trip. But let's say, hypothetically speaking, you didn't do that. Let's say if you're traveling in April and you have a June use year, you might actually be in the red, right? Because you would only have like 2 more months after for you to book another travel. And if you waited under the 30-day mark, you would go into holding points, pretty much. And what are holding points? Well, holding points is it goes into something where you cannot make another reservation with those points unless you're 60 days from the date of travel, right? So that's roughly around 2 months. Roughly, that's 2 months, right? So today is October 12, right? So that means from October 12 till December 12, that is your area where you can actually physically make a reservation, and you have to travel during this time. Those are holding points, right? So it does matter because if you're a consistent traveler, then you have to select a specific use year for you to use. So then if you do happen to cancel that use year and you planned on using all of your points during that one trip, you have sufficient time to either bank it or to go and just book another trip if you want. And it's worth mentioning that there's 4 months of the year that there is never a use year for, and that is January, May, July, and November. Those use years do not exist physically. You cannot buy any resort with those particular months. Again, that is January, May, July, November. Those are the years that those are the use years you can't buy. Okay, so the banking also matters too, because there's an absolute timeline on that too. If you don't bank your points before that deadline, then from that point on, you're stuck with those points. If you don't use those points go away worthless. So like in the September example, you have until April 30 of every year to bank your points. So let's say you didn't bank it. So from May 1st of whatever that year is till August 31st of whatever that year is, you have that time frame to use those points. You have to find some kind of use for those points. Otherwise, they're going to expire worthless. And if you count that, that's May 1, June 2, July 3, August 4. That's roughly around 4 months that you have to travel in to, do something with your points. 4 months really is not a whole lot. DVC is built under the assumption that you're booking either at the 7-month or greater window, or 11 months window. You're booking somewhere around that time frame. So if you last minute things, a lot of things are pretty much sold out. It is not a last minute thing. DVC is by no means a last minute thing. You do have to plan out your trips pretty far in advance. So selecting the right use year is very important, because if you know you're going to travel like April of every single year, you kind of probably want either like maybe a December use year, because then only 4 months would have passed, right? You still have about three months to go in to either bank your points, or you would have almost the entire year to kind of reschedule. You want to get as close as you need to your consistent date of travel without going over it, because if you're over it, then that's a completely different story. You wouldn't have enough time to rebook is basically it, right? So typically people they like traveling during Christmas, New Year's, right? Those are really, really popular times. Spring break, also a very, very popular time. March, April of every single year, depending on what school and where it is, pretty much. You might want to look into potentially a February use year, right? So you would get your points, say like February 1st of 2022. Spring break would happen, like hypothetically speaking, I don't know, April 1st of that year. Well, only two months went by, right? I mean, as long as you cancel before your March window, which is your 30 days out, you have an entire year to go and reschedule those points if you choose a February use year, right? Whereas if you chose, like, say, hypothetically speaking, a June use year, which is after spring break, that would mean you're on your previous year's use year already. And if you canceled in April, not only did you miss your banking window, you don't have a lot of time, right? Because by the time May 31st hits, your points are going to expire. You have potentially 1.5 months to use those points to schedule something. Otherwise, they're going to expire worthless. So hopefully that made sense. That's kind of a quick overview of what a use year is. I know it's super confusing. Leave me a comment down below if you need clarifications or you have any questions. All right, take care, guys. Bye.